red flags, they are symbols of danger.
And tonight, Crime and Justice lead investigative reporter Joy1st looks at whether Baltimore police missed obvious red flags and left guns in the hands of a person who posed a threat to himself and to others.
Ricky Walker Jr. had 3 weapons within his reach the night he was shot by police. Officers found a loaded revolver in one of his pockets and an AK-47 on the ground. Weapons that 10 days earlier, officers overlooked.
No, I ain't going nowhere.
On the morning of July 1st, Ricky Walker was not in a good place. He was agitated, confused, and he was cornered. Officers tried to get Walker to calm down, but Walker couldn't. Family members warned officers he had not taken his meds doctors prescribed him 10 days earlier, and even Walker himself disclosed it.
No.
But it was the unknown that would lead to Walker's injuries, and these officers to be placed under investigation.
Hey, what's your name, ma'am?
We discovered that this call to police
My daughter husband is in the basement. He is, I guess, paranoid or schizophrenic.
may have ended quite differently had an earlier call to police had a different outcome. 10 days earlier, officers found a very distraught man wreaking havoc in the area of Lochraven Boulevard in East Belvedere. In that police report, we discovered numerous callers reported a naked black male walking in the middle of the street, firing a handgun at vehicles. When officers arrived, they found a large naked man standing in the bushes, sweating profusely and shouting that someone was trying to kill him. That naked man was Ricky Walker Jr. That night, police also say they found a .45 caliber Ruger semi-automatic handgun lying in the street and casings scattered around the area. Police tracked Walker back to the 500 block of Falkirk, where they spoke with his wife. It's the same house police would respond to 10 days later and shoot Walker. A different narrative to the one the police commissioner shared when the department released body-worn camera footage of the police-involved shooting.
We had no fixed address for this individual, so there were no addresses that we could identify. Since we had no fixed address or permanent residence for him, there was no place for us to go and search for other weapons.
The commissioner also indicated during that first encounter.
The officers were able to take him into custody without incident.
But this police report from June 20th shows Walker was erratic. So much so, officers pepper sprayed him and had him admitted for an emergency mental evaluation. As for the weapon Walker was shooting cars with, nowhere in the report does it state that weapon was registered to Walker. It only mentioned the weapon was not stolen. It's not until 10 days later, after officers have a weapon pointed at them and react, the house is searched and weapons are removed.
And we recovered 8 firearms, as I have been briefed, 8 firearms from that residence in the most recent incident. 2 were registered to him. I'll get you 2 were registered to him, 1 from the previous incident and 1 from this incident.
Tragically, in this circumstance, there was a gun in the home and there was a shooting, and that's unfortunate.
Elizabeth Benash is the executive director of Marylanders to Prevent Gun Violence.
And I think in that particular case, it sounds to me as if there was clear evidence that that individual exhibited behavior that would indicate that he was not someone who should be in possession of a gun. And that would be a clear indication that the police would have at least the responsibility to pursue that with a judge.
On July 20th, 10 days before this police-involved shooting, officers could have sought an extreme risk protective order. Maryland's red flag law allows for the temporary removal of firearms from people whose behavior leads them to believe that he or she presents an immediate and present danger of causing personal injury to himself or herself or to others by possessing a firearm. In the Walker case, it's not until after officers reacted to the gun he pulled out they discovered the loaded revolver in a pocket and an AK-47 on the ground. When we asked why an extreme risk protective order was not pursued by police during that first incident, the BPD seemed unaware of what we were even referencing. If there's a story you'd like us to look into, we want to hear about it. You can call us at 410-662-1456 or you can send us an email to crimeandjustice@foxbaltimore.com. I'm Joy LaPola, and this is Operation Crime and Justice.
Hey, Megan, well, the cause of this explosion that blew this neighborhood apart still remains a mystery, but BGE is insisting that they are not responsible for what took place just across the street here. Again, this is the closest that we've been able to get to the explosion site, and just 4 days later, you can still see debris, glass, even some old appliances still sitting here as eventually crews work to clear all of this out. Now, BGE tested the pipes and equipment leading to this area and found that their stuff isn't at fault here, but they're now curious about the appliances inside the homes. As city, state, and federal investigators work to determine a cause, those who live in this neighborhood hope an answer to how this happened comes sooner rather than later.
They're not saying, what set it off. So, that's got me a little bit worried.
Give people that level of comfort that this is not just something that occurs across the city or in, generally in people's homes.
Now, investigators say it could take weeks before they determine the cause of this deadly explosion. In the meantime, BGE has restored gas back to the homeowners here. The company is also contributing $25,000 to relief organizations to support the needs of those impacted by the blast. Again, just giving you a final live look here of the explosion site. This is the closest that we've been able to get to it, and you can really see the impact of what it has done to this neighborhood.
And so Baltimore City Schools is one of the big school districts across Maryland that's already decided they will start the school year virtually, and they start in just a few weeks. But we also know the district itself is now informing students, staff, and the community and making sure that they know that they are closely watching this virus going forward to make sure it can help inform their decision making for the rest of the school year. Again, Baltimore City Schools starting virtually, and they had a virtual town hall last night discussing more reopening plans. Now, one question that came up during that town hall was, how are you helping kids with disabilities while learning at home? The school district says they're providing additional technology for those struggling with online learning until they can get back to learning in person.
We're working also very closely with the Baltimore City Health Department to see when we can begin to have some in-person via scheduled appointments to be able to evaluate our school-age students as well as our infants and toddlers so that we can appropriately assess and provide services for our students.
Now, if you look at the screen, you'll see a list of the state's 9 largest school districts that have already decided to start the school year online. Aside from Baltimore City, that also includes Baltimore County, Carroll, Hartford, Howard, and Anne Arundel County. Now, the other school districts closer to D.C., down south, Montgomery and Prince George's have already said they're also starting the school year this year virtually.